As you join us here at the Kyalami Motorsport Festival, round 3 of the Extreme Festival. It's GandH Transport Extreme Supercars on track, and a very hard man to beat today is going to be Charles Oranges. He's one of 2 A-plus category competitors, but unfortunately the second one of the A-plus cars a little bit too far down to even come close to the power of that magnificent Aston Martin Vantage out front. Nice to see some cars in the mid-pack, though, that are not normally in that mid-pack, so we're going to see some action, I'm sure, from the likes of Greg Parton there in the Lamborghini Aventador. Alongside him will be Trans-Africa Racing's Jonathan du Toit, and those guys are going to be pushing hard to get through on the BMWs that literally mob the front end of that field. You've got Adrian Dalton alongside Charles Oranges, Sav Gutteri behind them, Darren Winterboer, and then it is the first of the Porsches, which we didn't think was going to be Dino Scribante, but it actually is. And no show from the Bentley here today at its home track. Lights are on, and we're about to go racing for the first time here in GandH Transport Extreme Supercars. Big drop off the line, potentially hunting for a new lap record here, because Charles Oranges came with that awesome, all-conquering Aston Martin Vantage on the Pirelli tyres. And speaking of Pirelli, remember that we have got the advanced handling track here, sponsored by Pirelli today. And they're giving guys opportunities to get onto the skid pad and the advanced handling track to test out some of the Pirelli rubber that you can see in action now in front of us as they get down into this race proper. Darren Winterboer under a bit of pressure right from the word go there from Dino Scribante. Dino Scribante looking to go around the outside of the BMW all the way from Bulawayo. And then just tucked in behind there, great start coming out of Colbert. So Andrew Colbert also looking good in the first of those Bigfoot Express Freight Porsches. And then as they tuck it in here, Sav Gutteri starting to make his way to the front end. Now that's exactly what I expected to see. Gutteri, of course, an A-plus competitor in his BMW, looking for opportunities to get away from the likes of Darren Winterboer and Adrian Dalton. And there you can see Class A battle of note there as Parton gets hounded by the Trans-Africa Racing 430 Ferrari of Jonathan du Toit. Further back, that is the champion, Ricky Giannacaro. He's last year's overall champion, and him and Tuka Mechanikos going at it there, Mercedes versus BMW.
That beautiful BMW of Sav Gutteri out front, that really does look American cop car style. I really do love the black and white design that he's got on that car as they come filtering now out of Leeuwkop down the hill for the first time, flat out in these big supercars, 240 k's plus through there, manhandling the steering wheel, fighting those cars all the way down into Crocodile. Now there's a big mid-pack dice going on here. There's BMWs, there's the Mercedes-Benz, there's Porsche, there's Lamborghinis. Every supercar that you could want out on track is now here at Kyalami.
Saul Hack fighting on the back end there of, you can see, hard-charging Nicky Dix to be the front Porsche of that little pack, but just ahead of them it looks like Ant Blunden is holding on for that little honour. Then you can see coming through the field and big flames coming out of the side of the 73 car there of Alwyn Steenkamp. He's slowly but surely being closed down by Sun Mudley in the second of those Bigfoot Express Freight Porsches. Greg Parton late on the brakes in the Lamborghini, looking for a way to get back at, just doesn't quite get there though. You can see a little bit of a chopping and changing there between the Lamborghini and the Ferrari. The Ferrari of Jonathan du Toit now looking to close down on his brother Mark. New livery on that car, usually an all-red car. Mark just starting to change up the livery on that car slightly. There's one car that was catching me out ever so slightly. I wasn't quite sure who was in the white Ferrari, but it's actually Mark du Toit who's now closing in on Dino Scribante.
You can see the different lines these drivers have to take in the different type of cars. The big Lamborghinis, slightly heavier, have to really turn the car in earlier. Here comes on the inside. Yeah, du Toit makes the move on the inside there. Brilliant move there from Mark du Toit. Looks like he's going to make it stick. Is he? The two Ferraris going at it there. And just ahead of them is the 2 BMWs, Sav Gutteri and Adrian Dalton. They're in that big battle for second and third place. Darren Winterboer not too far behind there. Dino Scribante, the first of the Porsches. But as I was saying, you can see the different lines that they have to take. The slightly bigger cars have to turn in a bit earlier to make that apex, while the slightly more racy Porsches and BMWs can take the wider line and get on the drive. But what they make up in the turn, they certainly do lose going down the straights on the horsepower of those big Lamborghinis and Ferraris.
I'm just double checking there with Andre de Kock from the Citizen Motoring. It's actually a 430 Ferrari that Mark du Toit is now driving. He used to have a 360 Ferrari, the 360 Challenge car, of course, that he had. But now you can see just with the front end of that car, slightly different front end of that Ferrari of Mark du Toit. So that's why he's a little bit higher up than what he would normally be, fighting with his brother and fighting for honors. Look at the lap time starting to drop, though. 44.9s coming out of Charles Oranges. What an incredible lap time there from him, and expected to drop even more now as he crosses the line. And he's now started his second lap in anger. 51.2s are the closest we're going to get from anybody else. In fact, the 52 dead out of Dino Scribante looks pretty good for a Porsche, but a 51.2 out of Sav Gutteri, trying to close that gap on Charles Oranges. Oranges is very lucky that we don't have any of the other big A-plus competitors here this weekend, including the likes of Marcel Angel in his 458 Ferrari. So there's a lot of other cars that are going to come through throughout the season and become competitive in this category. So 430 Ferraris on the back end of Dino Scribanti's Porsche. Then you've got Anton Cronier in the lone Subaru. That works impressive just ahead of Greg Parton's Dryzen Environmental Lamborghini. And then, of course, it's Andrew Colbert in what is the second Porsche on track.
I love this shot that we got live on Facebook, and that really is the Porsche there, but with the two Ferraris, the two Detoys right on his tail. There's Dino Scribanti just trying to fend them off. That can't be an easy job to do. You can see the supercars just filtering through here. The BMW looking very racy here this weekend, so great to see them. But here come the big supercars now getting heat into those Pirelli tyres and starting to get the traction down, which means fast lap times. The Detoys go wide. You can see all problems there. Dino's got a big problem with the Porsche there. Unfortunately, now out of that battle. So commentators curse there for Dino Scribanti in the first of the Porsches running at the front. Looks like his race has now come to an end.
I think Dino's going to have to chat to both of us and say, listen, just don't mention my name ever again.
Yeah, don't.
Because every time we mention his name, he has a problem.
Something happens.
The last time we were at Carl, he ended up in the wall. So fortunately, it hasn't ended up in the wall for him this time. Now, as they come into braking, Mark Dutoy under pressure from his brother, the two Dutoy boys, out of Trans-Africa Racing. The Silver Dream Racer now taking on the White Knight there of Mark Dutoy. And Dutoy really getting to grips with that 430 pretty quickly. I was just contemplating whether it was a 430 or a 360 initially. It is actually a brand new car. You can pick up on the slightly different front end and rear piece of that car. Jonathan Dutoy, a seasoned campaigner in his 430, but certainly awesome to see him in a 430 challenge car now as opposed to the 360. He battled in Class C for the last 4 or 5 seasons, now getting a chance to fight out in Class A with his brother.
Seb Gutierrez, the fastest driver behind the leaders there, 50.4, so impressive lap time there for the BMW driver. Charles Oranges dipping into the 46 dead. Oh no, I mean, that's probably the slowest lap time that he'll do in that beautiful car. There it is out front, car number 13. Do yourself a favor, if you've got here to Kyalami, get down to the pits and have a close look at that car. Really is something special. We called him the James Bond of last year, and he's certainly stamping his authority here once again. A little bit further back, there's the Merc in a big dice with some Porsches there, so it's going to be a good battle there. That is, of course, Ant Blunden. So just trying to
Tuka's slowing though. Tuka's got a problem. Tuka Mechanical slowing up in the Mercedes-Benz, allowing last year's champion Ricky Giannacara to blast past. Nicky Dix fighting with Saul Hack here, two normally aspirated Porsches. They've got ahead of Blunden now, so they now lead that little battle in terms of what would be Class C honours up for grabs. But further back in that field as they go flying through Sunset Corner and up towards Clubhouse, Saul Hack. He spent a bit of time here with his Porsche. And looking pretty good. In fact, runs on the curb ever so slightly, which will just throw him off the attack onto Nicky Dix. But great to see them, the two of them fighting hard for what would be Porsche honours here in their respective classes. Saul Hack definitely getting better and better every time he gets behind the wheel of that car, and certainly getting the car to handle a lot better than what it has been on the last few occasions that he's been here at Kyalami.
Oh, there we go. Our live Facebook feeders might not know, but the curves are actually slightly raised. You can't really see it on the live screen here, but they're slightly raised, trying to get the drivers to avoid from actually going onto the curbs. And you can see Sol Heck coming through Clubhouse there, got a little bit out of shape, but kicks the car up, and he did very well to hang on to that. But he's certainly a man on the move, trying to make a way past. Can't do it going down in Crocodile. So going very defensive is the Porsche ahead of him, and not able to make a pass. And Nicky Dix making that Porsche very wide. Oh, but brilliant drive there from Sol. Will he make it on the inside? That is a very brave place to pass, and he makes it stick. Brilliant driving.
Yeah, awesome bit of driving there from Sol Hack, getting through on Nicky Dix and eventually making it stick in a tough position to make it stick as well, but he managed to get it all right. So Nicky Dix demoted down one more position in the curve vent air conditioners machine. That Porsche now going to have to fight hard. Two Ferraris still fighting exceptionally hard here, and a change up as Jonathan Dutoy's got ahead of Mark Dutoy. Now looking to close down on Darren Winterberg just up the road, and if they can do that, they might just be able to bridge that gap up into Dalton's area as well. But remember, those are A-plus cars and now Class A competitors fighting for the lead of this race. At the front end, they're not going to catch the 44 9s that are coming out of Charles Oranges' Aston Martin Vantage. But we've got 3 BMWs, 2 Ferraris, and a Porsche. And, of course, Anton Cronier in his Subaru Works Impressor fighting. Further back in the field, this is Sun Mudley. Mudley having a little bit of a fight of his own there with the 53 car of David Kutsia. Kutsia, of course, a seasoned campaigner when it comes to the Bridgestone BMW Car Club Racing Series. And now looking to go to fight with Sun Mudley and Tuka Mechanicos, who seems to have got a little bit of pace back into that car after dropping right out of it. There is a bit of smoke still coming out of the Merc, so that AMG might have an engine issue. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Yeah, pretty much every time we see the car, particularly at this stage of a race, you'll see a little bit of smoke coming out of Tuka's car, but hopefully he can keep it all going. And he's now going hunting for David Coetzee's BMW, who is side by side with Sun Moodley as they go through the S's.
Oh, Coetzee made a brilliant move on the inside in Sunset, but Sun Moodley just fighting straight back, not giving him any kind of room. And there's the smoking AMG Merc there, going to try and make a move on the inside of Coetzee, going up to Leeuwkop, not able to make it stick. So you can see the different parts of the tracks that suit the different kind of cars. The BMW really strong in the opening part of the lap, but that Porsche definitely comes into its own in the second part. And out front, the two De Toys are certainly closing down on Darren Winterboer there in third place. So that battle for the final podium is certainly not done and dusted yet. In fact, Adrian Dalton now up into third place there as they go across the line. Darren Winterboer still there in fourth. Then it's Mark and Jonathan Du Toit there in fifth and sixth in the two Ferraris. But they are certainly now, they've got the heat in the tyres, they've got the confidence, and the Ferraris are coming thick and fast.
Now, looking a little bit ahead there, you can see Alwyn Steenkamp just hanging on as well with big flame out the side of his BMW. There's a dive on the inside. Coetzee going through.
Oh, man.
Does he make it stick? Yes, he does. He gets through there on Sun Moodley in the Bigfoot Express Freight Porsche, but Sun comes straight back at him. Just in the background of that, you'll also see a white BMW. That's Bruce Turner. Brand new car for him, developing that car as it comes across the line, so expect that car to get better and better every single time it gets out onto track. A man who built his own race car and put his whole story on Facebook as he built that race car, now changing up to a slightly different machine. And behind him as well as David Coetzee has something came loose there on somebody's car. There's something stuck in the middle of the track there. Coetzee dropping back slightly as we see the Ferraris closing in on the front end of the race, and the front end being, of course, now what is fourth place on track, Darren Winterboer, all the way from Bulawayo in the Barron's Motorspares BMW. But I think Winterboer might have a bit of an issue there. He seems to be slightly slower than what he was earlier on as they come through Leeuwkop and down the sweep. Mine shaft, it's going to be flat out stuff. Look at the Ferrari going to dive on the inside. Will he hold that inside line? No. Darren cuts him off. So Darren Winterboer is not going to make it easy for the two De Toy boys as they come through there in their Ferraris.
Yeah, here we go. Is he going to line it up? It would be a very brave place to do it there. I don't think he's got the gap. I think he might even... Oh, ramping the curve two-wheel stuff there from Darren Winterboer. Brilliant in that BMW. I think the Ferrari driver's just looking at that and saying, right, you can have the corners. We'll just try and get the slipstream and use the power of those Ferraris down the straight. Here we go. BMW versus Ferrari down the long straight here. Kalami, the blue flags are out. As if that,
blue flag.
How's that?
Yeah, that's
adding
nice.
Insult
that's in
to
your
injury.
face.
Yeah.
You just move out the way, slow driver. No, not quite. I think Darren Winterboer just showed that blue flag man exactly the kind of power that BMW's got, and he pulls away from the two Ferraris. So the two 430 challenge cars trying to close down here on the Barron's Motorspares machine. There is a bit of debris in the middle of the track there. I'm not quite sure where it's come from, but there's definitely something that could potentially be a hazard to somebody on track. But looks like Jonathan Du Toit is making Darren Winterboer's life very difficult at the moment as they head down there. A little bit of issues there for the two cars slowing.
That's
one of them,
Coetzee, isn't it?
No, that's Anton Cronier in the Subaru, and Dino Scribanti eventually pulling into pit lane as well. So we lose the Subaru and what was the leading Porsche at that stage, Dino Scribanti, out of this first race. There's David Coetzee.
That is Coetzee,
Top of the hill, he got out of shape, as you saw. We just picked it up in the background. I was picking up on Bruce Turner coming through there. So Turner now would have got through. It would have also given an opportunity to Willie de Beer to move up slightly as well. The man all the way from Natal doing a super job there in a brand new Porsche and having some fun of his own. Looks like back markers have just been caught. This, of course, is Rangi's closing in on Johan Hutting. Hutting in the 370Z now being overtaken and passed with the final lap about to be started, if I'm not mistaken. So one to go now for Charles Rangi's. No worries at all for him. Miles ahead of the rest of the pack of cars. And Sav Guterri has not an answer here for him at all. Neither have these three, but how's this battle?
This is the battle. The two De Toys and the Ferraris now. Look at the BMW in a Ferrari sandwich there. Come down into Crocodile's going to try and make a move on the inside. Is there enough gap there? You don't want to be taking that beautiful Ferrari. And you can see De Toy just leaving him a little bit of room. And look at that. A De Toy Ferrari sandwich going into the right-hander. You cannot get three supercars through that right-hander.
Well, let me tell you something. The last time Darren Winterboer went through there, he was on two wheels. He was Daniel Duminy through there. That's what we saw a couple of races ago as Daniel Duminy went through that little section and he got out of shape. But just incredible stuff. Jonathan Du Toit has been able to maintain that gap. Darren Winterboer came back at him. I think Mark had to tap out.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to get those three cars going through there side by side. Just behind them, Greg Parton is also starting to close down and could potentially be a thorn in the works here for these three. If Parton can get that Dryset environmental Lamborghini of his to the front end and up to this little battle, it'll be great to see another Italian stallion thrown into the mix there. BMW starting to come in amongst the back markers, and look at Sav. Sav has actually been caught and passed by Adrian Dalton.
Yep.
Dalton has moved up into second place, Sav down to third now. So late race fade coming out of Guterri. This is Willie de Beer, a man I was picking up on earlier on, fighting with Jimbo Jonakara, the big boss man of GandH Transport Extreme Supercars, and of course GandH Transport itself. But Willie de Beer in a brand new GT Cup car that he's developing, not only for Extreme Supercars, but also for the Time Attack at Desi's coming up at the beginning of June.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that as well.
That's an event to get down to, because that is absolutely super stuff to watch. Speaking of super, here coming to out the final turn for the final time across the line will be our winner, Charles Ranges. He set that early fast lap of 44.9, and then since then been lapping in the 46s and 47s down to the 48s now. So just maintaining that lead that he had out front. In second place, we're going to have to wait and see. It is Adrian Dalton that has got ahead of Sav Gutierrez. Here we go. It will be, that's a back marker.
That's a 370, yeah.
He's got a massive lead, the Charles Ranges. Coming down the hill here now, there is, that's a very...
Sav's slow. Sav's got a problem.
Fading.
Here's the Ferrari on
That's
the inside of Sav.
place.
Yes, indeed. So Jonathan Dutoy, unfortunately, no answer from Sav Gutierrez. Jonathan Dutoy came flying past. Darren Winterberg will try and get through on him as well and see if he can get a couple more points in the bag. Because remember, overall championship points count towards the #1 plate. It's not on the 75 car of Ricky Jonakara at this stage. He stayed with his number 75, but he, of course, is our reigning champion overall in the GandH Transport Extreme Supercars. And across the line, it is going to be Adrian Dalton who's going to take second place. Sav is going to have to settle for fourth because it's Dutoy, then Sav, then Darren Winterberg. Mark Dutoy right behind them, and a good drive there from Greg Barton to finish up in 7th place in the Lamborghini. And that is how our top 7 comes through. Andrew Calvert will finish up in 8th place. Saul Hack behind him in the 2nd of the Porsches. And Nicky Dix making 3 Porsches in the top 10 as well. So we've literally got an Aston Martin at the front end, 3 BMWs, 2 Ferraris, a Lamborghini, and 3 Porsches making up that top 10. What a great start to the GandH Transport Extreme Supercars racing here today. It's not the first of their season. Remember, their first outing was already at Swartkops for the Passion for Speed Festival. And now we're looking for more of the same a bit later on in the afternoon. As soon as we've got a little bit of action coming away from the highlights, we'll run through those with you as well. But remember, up next, we're going into the second half of the day's proceedings, which means we're going to be heading into, I think it's NGN Volkswagen Cup that start the second half of the day. I'm just going to go down onto my program of the day to see if exactly if that is how things are going to work. I think it is. Yes, NGN Polo Cup are up next, then the Invest Games Formula 1600s. Back to the second heat of Sassel Global Touring Cars, Bridgestone Thunder Bikes and Sub-10s, Red Square ZX-10R Masters Cup. GandH Transport Extreme Supercars and V8 Supercars will close the day. All of that coming to you here live on iLEV, courtesy of the EFX team. And as they go across the line, you can see that's the start of this first race for the GandH Transport Extreme Supercars. Charles Ranges would not be touched by anybody. A little bit of an in-house battle between 2 BMWs. Sav Gutierrez fighting hard there with Adrian Dalton. Ricky Jonakara fighting with his good mate Tuka Mechanicos. Nicky Dix and Saul Hack for mid-pack honours there. And good to see a couple of new drivers, Alvain Steenkamp being one of them, fighting there as well. Steenkamp with some big flames coming out of the car and putting on a great show for the big crowd that's out here at Kyalami. Greg Barton started to make his way through the field rapidly, getting ahead of Cronier. Cronier kept him honest and kept coming back at him. But unfortunately, Cronier and Dino Scribanti would eventually have some issues of their own and would not finish up. Scribanti initially being the quickest Porsche on the circuit, ahead of the 2 Ferraris and the Lamborghini. And Cronier's lone Subaru works impressive there. Also doing some development on that car, not only for Extreme Supercars, but also, we mentioned it, the Desi Time Attack event. Very, very competitive car in that class. And hopefully we're going to see an SMD car there this year as well with Sean Duminy and potentially a very fast machine coming out of that stable for the Time Attack event. The Dryzen Environmental Lamborghini would eventually get through and come to finish up just behind the leaders. So Greg Barton doing a great job, but no one who came even close to the power and the precision of that magnificent Aston Martin Vantage of Charles Ranges. Good little in-house battle between the Porsches. Saul Hack would eventually win that out over Nicky Dix and get through. And in terms of the Ferraris, chopping and changing between the 2 Dutoy boys eventually got them up to where the BMWs were fighting, and they would fight with Darren Winterberg to the end. David Coetzee, baptism of fire with him, as he went side by side with not only Sun Mudley, but also with Tuka Mechanicos, fighting with Porsches and Mercedes-Benz. Alvain Steenkamp just ahead of that little battle. Coetzee showing that he's got the prize to be there and definitely can throw it in amongst the usual contenders. Darren Winterberg going very Daniel Duminy on us there as he went through Cheetah, getting it onto 2 wheels and keeping it very honest ahead of the 2 Ferraris. Eventually, as I said, Dino and Cronier having to pull into the pit lane and out of this first heat of the GandH Transport Extreme Supercars. David Coetzee, a little bit exuberant, I think, caught himself out at the top of the hill, ended up in the kitty litter, but got back going again. And then this was the battle to the line between the 2 Ferraris of Winterberg and the Dutoys. Look at that, side by side to the line. And eventually it would be Jonathan and Mark getting just ahead through. And Darren Winterberg doing a great job to lead out an attack for the BMWs. Adrian Dalton doing a super job as well. He would come through in second place for the overall victories. And then the Detroit boys finished up just ahead of Guterri, Darren Winterberg, and Mark Detroit. So that's how it goes for GandH Transport Extreme Supercars, heat number 1. That's how we finish it up. And in a few minutes' time, we'll be back here on ILEB, courtesy of the EFX production team, to bring you NGen Polo Cup Race 2.